My name is Dustin, and in my family, the date November 13th has always spelled death. In 1994, it was my grandmother. In 2004, my stepmother. In 2014, my father. Every 10 years, like clockwork, each death darker than the last. And now it's November 12th, 2024. Just a few hours left until midnight. I haven't slept in 3 days. I remember the first death vividly. I was just 10 years old in 1994 when Grandma passed. 5 days before she died, she kept saying someone was standing near the main door, then near her bedroom. We thought it was just her poor eyesight or dementia. She could barely see the food on her plate after all. But she'd interrupt her own stories, glancing nervously at nothing in particular, whispering,
"She's come again."
One night, while she was telling me her usual bedtime tale, she stopped mid-sentence, stared at the hallway, and started gasping for breath. I remember panicking, fetching water, calling her name, splashing her face. She finally opened her eyes and whispered in terror,
"She's going to kill me. The woman standing right by the attic stairs."
I looked. There was no one. I told her so. She said,
"Look again. The glass of water will fall off the dresser."
I turned back to look at her. There's nothing happening, Grandma. The glass is right there. And the moment those words left my mouth, crash! The glass hit the floor and shattered. I screamed and ran. The bedroom door slammed shut behind me. My parents didn't believe me. "You imagined it," they said. "You're just a child." But I knew something terrible was coming. 2 days later, we found her body in the attic room, curled up in the far corner, her eyes and mouth wide open, frozen in fear. I was never the same again. By the time I was 20, life had drained any concept of normal from my soul. I came home from college one evening and rang the doorbell. No one opened the door. I used the spare key. The first thing I noticed was that the attic door, always shut, was slightly ajar. Inside, under the rafters where Grandma had died, sat my stepmother. Her back was rigid, and her face turned away. She was rocking, slowly, muttering. I called her name. No response. I stepped in closer. Her skin was pale. Her lips quivered. Then she turned and whispered,
"Your grandmother told me everything. She won't leave us alone. She'll kill us all."
over and over, like a chant. I tried pulling her away, but she felt impossibly heavy, like she had sunk into the floor itself. When I finally got her out of the attic room, the dresser inside rattled, then a glass flew off and shattered, just like before. She pushed me out, slammed the attic door shut, and locked it. I called my father, who rushed home. His face was pale, almost icy. Without a word, he handed me a bundle of white cloth, shroud fabric. Then he walked to the closet, pulled out incense sticks, and murmured on the phone.
"Yes, the strongest ones. Lavender base if possible."
Then to me,
"Stay away from the attic. I'm going to break the door."
I will never forget what I saw next. My stepmother, hunched under the slanted ceiling, was chewing on glass. Blood ran down her chin. She smiled at us, but her eyes were weeping. Before we could stop her, She slit her own throat with a glass shard. Blood sprayed across the walls. She bled out within minutes. The date? November 13th, 2004. My father arranged the funeral, forbidding me from going near her body. He tried to keep me safe, but no one can protect you from something like this. By 2014, as the next November approached, I lived in constant dread. Every creak in the house made me flip on all the lights. I avoided mirrors, shut the attic, and barely slept. On the night of November 9th, my father seemed different, quiet. He didn't speak much, didn't eat. On the 10th, he locked himself in his room. By the 11th, he wouldn't even respond when I knocked. I found him talking to himself in the garden, seated under the old oak tree, the attic key in his hand. He said he was speaking to her, the one who haunted us, begging her to spare me, apologizing for the past. That night he made tea and hummed lullabies, too calm. On the night of the 12th, I fed him dinner and stayed in his room. When he went to the bathroom, I waited. But he didn't come back. I knocked. No response. I broke the door. Inside, the walls were scratched with one line repeated over and over. It was my fault. My father was gone. I saw the garden window open. Rushing outside, I found him kneeling in the dirt, muttering prayers. Then suddenly he began digging, bare hands tearing into soil. I tried to pull him away, but he shoved me back with a strength I didn't know he had. He lay inside the shallow pit and whispered, "Take care of yourself. She's come for me." Then he grabbed a nearby brick and smashed his own skull. He died before I could scream. That brings us to now. It's November 12th, 2024. Nearly midnight. I must have dozed off despite everything. When I woke, I heard voices. The house was full. Relatives. Dozens of them. They were smiling, chatting like it was a celebration. But no sound came from their mouths. I stepped out of my room and into the hallway. No one noticed me. Until they all did. Every face turned toward me. Then came through the crowd. My grandmother. My stepmother. My father. They walked up to me. Their eyes sunken. Their expressions blank. Grandmother whispered,
"It's your turn now, Dustin. You can't escape."
I woke up screaming. It was 9:40 p.m. Then I heard it. The attic door creaked open. The scent of incense, the same night-blooming jasmine, which was there for every death, filled the air. A diary lay on the attic floor. Inside it, handwriting I'd never seen before. A confession. The woman I'd called mother all my life wasn't. She was my father's second wife. My real mother was my father's first wife, and she died shortly after giving birth to me. Poisoned, dehydration induced by a night-blooming jasmine. Left to suffer, bound in the attic. My grandmother had arranged it. She wanted a daughter-in-law with a dowry, and when my mother became inconvenient, they got rid of her. As I read those last entries, I looked up. A woman stood in the attic corner, not threatening, not angry, just looking at me, calmly, in peace. Maybe I'll survive tonight, because vengeance has already been served.